Hello, everyone. Today, I actually want to discuss with you all about this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction that happens every 13 years. And we last experienced it in December 2007. That time it was in Sagittarius. This time it's in Capricorn. Now, Jupiter-Pluto conjunct, which occurred on the 30th June 2020, just which has gone by, was the second of the three significant exact conjunctions which occurred now. So on the 30th June, it was the second conjunction, whereas the first of its kind was on April 4th. Now, the third one is going to be on the 20th November. Now, this conjunct, which happens to be in Capricorn, whose element is Earth, the mode cardinal, and ruler Saturn. Saturn is also posited in the same, in Capricorn itself. So you can imagine when Jupiter is in the same degree as Pluto in Capricorn and Saturn is overlooking them, the power is extraordinary. Let us first understand Jupiter, the planet. Now, the energies of the planet Jupiter are those where there is a useful and harmonious connection between the individualized soul and the material universe. The soul knows that abundance is its birthright, and Jupiter symbolizes this abundance. Now, while Saturn is anchored in the material world, Jupiter can be seen as a sky hook that connects us with what we want. Using the knowledge that we're going to get what we desire because we should have it. Some people call that luck. It's not surprising that the word jovial is derived from Jove, the Roman word for Jupiter. But when lucky people act like they have all the answers, then the bragging, exaggerated aspect of Jupiter rears its ugly head. Now, Jupiter represents the tools used to aid growth in knowledge and understanding. While Mercury symbolizes piece by piece perception of individual facts, Jupiter represents assembling the broad picture. It is the forest to Mercury's trees. When Jupiter is tuned into the search for understanding of the human condition, laws, religions, and philosophies are produced, as well as the teaching and widespread dissemination of these subjects through publishing and broadcasting, the search for different approaches to life leads to foreign travel also. Influenced by Jupiter, a lucky, jovial, philosophical person may go overboard in his enjoyment for the finer things in life and the high life also. It's no wonder that Jupiter is said to rule the liver as well as the blood, veins, and arteries. They carry life to the farthest reaches of our bodies, our hips, our thighs, which help to move us around the earth. So the keywords obviously comes as expansion, enlarging, increasing, developing, achieving, integrate, encourage, prosper. You teach, you can actually be teaching to the world. You have to take a broader perspective, higher education, the law, philosophy, religion, broadcasting, traveling, publishing, and in fact, adapting to new ways of living and thinking. So, what is the message that Jupiter gives us? That the purpose of life is to grow and expand in experience, knowledge, and understanding. This is true for everything in this world and in all other worlds. But there is a warning also by this planet Jupiter. It says, remember, it has been said, and there were two messages over the entrance to the oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece. It said, know thyself and nothing in excess, which actually means, even in today's world, now that the Jupiter has come in conjunct with Pluto, know yourself and nothing in excess. You need to just know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and why do you need to do it. Now let's understand Pluto. So that was Jupiter. So now let's understand Pluto. Well, as you probably notice, that I love to give you the descriptions of what energies the planets represent. The descriptions themselves may seem longer and more complex, but once you understand them, you will be able to apply it to your life whenever they are into play. Look at its symbol. It has a cross, a crescent, half moon, and a circle, a tiny little circle on top. As I understand, that conscious or divine planning seems to enter into that simple gulf for a complex planet. In the gulf for Pluto, the cross of matter has been broken down into its component parts, a horizontal and a vertical line, but yet they remain joined, creating one right angle and not four. So Pluto has come to be associated with the process of breaking down and decay that an entity, item, or situation goes through at the end of its useful life. That means that the decay has to be happened, the breaking down has to happen because they're no more or no longer needed in our life. It's a process that reduces it to its most component parts and then allows them to once again take form and be reborn like the mythical bird, the phoenix, said to rise from the ashes of its former body. So the crescent representing both the intellectual and the emotional halves of the individual soul remain attached to the cross of matter during this transition, signifying the soul's transcendence of death. The rapid breakdown and decay of the element plutonium transforms its basic matter into the energy of a nuclear explosion in both its solid state and that of pure energy. The power of plutonium is frighteningly great. Attempts at harnessing its power have created far more problems than they have solved. We still don't know how to safely deal with the nuclear waste. Knowing that Pluto rules both the highest and the lowest makes me think that the danger will balance out and lead to an equal benefit. And I pray that we actually see it very soon happening in today's world. The one right angle in our first symbol for Pluto reminds us of yet another inherent danger in dealing with the energies of that planet. The philosophy that says there is only one absolutely right way to think and act. The energy is not only at the base of what we call our consciousness and what some psychoanalysts call our superego, but it also gives rise to dictators, underworld crime bosses. In Greek myth, actually, Pluto was the lord of the underworld. And other megalomaniacs like Hitler, Mussolini, Al Capone, and even Franklin D. Roosevelt came into power around the time of the discovery of Pluto, which was in 1930, symbolizing that the time had come for humanity to confront those remote, larger than life, mesmerizing personalities who gain nearly absolute power by claiming to what is right. But this striving for absolute perfection is really a perversion, which is another of Pluto's specialities, of our striving for the perfection of the absolute. This is demonstrated in the second of our gills for Pluto, where we see, it's like a P, where we see that, like that for the planet Venus, O, the circle of spirit is above the cross of matter, symbolizing the dominance of spiritual over material values. And actually, we are undergoing the same phenomena now, the dominance of spiritual over the material values. But in the gel for Pluto, the circle of spirit is completely detached from both the crosses of matter and the crescent of the soul. This can be seen to symbolize the often inhuman actions associated with Pluto's influence, as the striving for the perfection of the absolute is perverted into the imposition of the will of the stronger upon the weaker. But there is a very, very positive side to this small but powerful planet. Like the Jill for the planet Neptune, the crescent of the soul is on top of the cross of matter. But unlike the Jill for Neptune, the soul is not impaled on the cross. It rests on it, perfectly centered and balanced as it looks up to the circle of the spirit, the ideal goal that all the souls aspire to. Now, the soul is using the material world for what it is meant for, a place to learn the fundamental principles that are at the heart of reality. And by doing so, the soul transcends the material world and reaches a union with the spirit. This union is not apparent at first glance because the circle seems to be floating above the crescent and cross. But if we remember what Neptune told us, we realize that the union of soul and spirit would, by definition, have to take place beyond time and space. Now, while Neptune always talks about our inspiration, it's too sensitive to exist fully in the material world. Pluto talks about our conscious, and it succeeds in gaining power for the individual soul by perfectly balancing the threefold nature of personal experience, that is, your body, your mind, and spirit. And by doing so, overcomes the seemingly vast distance that separates it from the life giving sun, which is the ego, and fulfills the ego's purpose. Now, this mirrors the story of every saved sinner who finds his or her true nature only after descending into a personal hell and meeting Pluto, god of the underworld. It is by confronting this merciless judgment that the sinners become purified of their sins. Actually, I don't take it as sins or sinners. I would say we come face to face with the mistakes that we do, because nobody can sit judgmental or be opinionated about us. But when Jupiter and Pluto is coming in conjunction, because Jupiter gives you expansion and Pluto gives you an insight of your soul, you come face to face with your own mistakes, and now is the time to actually rectify them. So Pluto rules the eliminative organs, which include, in true Pluto style, the sexual organs. The theme of the highest and the lowest is truly at the heart of Pluto. So the keywords of Pluto says transform, power, transcend, resurrect, purge, regenerate, ruthless, merciless, absolute, conscious, your superego, controlling, obsession, breakdown, purifying, power struggles, and eliminations. It also talks in the metamorphical sense, the death and the rebirth of the new you. So, what's the message that Pluto gives us? If you continually purify your soul and your goals, working for the good of all, I will help you by gaining control of yourself. You will gain control of your world. How beautiful the message is that even in today's time, when Jupiter and Pluto has come in conjunction, they're actually asking you that by controlling yourself, you will gain the control of your world. But what's the warning of Pluto? That if your goals become selfish, I will aid those who will group together to pull you down. As far as your purely material goals are concerned, it will be as if you are powerless. So the changes need to be made internally. Now, when Jupiter is in Capricorn, now that was about Jupiter, and I told you about Pluto, what do their energies and how they affect us, and what is the advice that the Jupiter and Pluto gives us. Now, when they are actually conjoining in Capricorn, the Jupiter in Capricorn, how does it behave? There is often a clash between optimism and pessimism, between extravagance and miserliness. With Jupiter in the sign of its fall, actually, Jupiter is in its fall in Capricorn. But while individuals with this placement may be overly cautious in matters of risk taking, they're often big on responsibility, duty, and integrity. The type may also be big on making economies, disliking, as they often do, any kind of waste. Wealth will often come or sometimes be lost from or through the father. Not uncommonly, poverty in childhood is often replaced by relative comfort in old age. The father can take on. Now, basically, when I talk about father, it is the major earning member of the family, can take on an exaggerated significance in the life, although, if other factors concur, he can be rather a remote figure. This placement leads a conservative tinge to your own natal charts because of fundamental belief in tradition, hierarchy, and the establishment. Some may be overly respectful towards those in authority. There is often an appreciation of the land with Jupiter here. So, if you want to do anything about Jupiter, you could, about your land, selling it or buying it, this is the apt time to do it because Jupiter is positioned in Capricorn. It is also a good placement for the geologists, the jewelers, or anyone whose life is touched by rocks, by large rocks. Now, when Pluto is in Capricorn, this heralds the overthrow of governments and companies that have become institutions or the bedrock of a particular society. The societies are bound to change. The impact of the global warming might herald natural disasters. Big business and company directors may look vulnerable at this point and at this time. And with Uranus squaring Pluto for part of the period, individuals challenging multinationals in large number seems likely. Now, Pluto here is bound to expose the weakness of the institution and is not likely to be supportive of tradition. The role of the father figure in many a society may be re-evaluated, and diseases affecting the older people or preventing people becoming older could be on the agenda. And if you minutely look into the society that we are being faced today, we are questioning. The institutions are changing. The big business companies are questioned of what or how can they be better for the people that they employ. So the last time this transit happened in Capricorn was actually in 1771. Then there were major quarantines in Russia to stop the spread of the bubonic plague. Now, what are the things that we need to expect during this time when actually the three are coming together? That is the conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn overlooking. You can actually expect large financial shifts. What was happening in the world? The financial crisis, which began in 2007 with a depreciation in the subprime mortgage market. This was the beginning of the financial crisis, and the efforts to rebuild led to changes in the financial industries, which did become better. Pluto moved into Capricorn a couple of months later and began to transform the banking and the finance sector. That is the Capricorn industries. Now, we can see similar themes with this transit. If we didn't finish clearing corruption within our corporations and governments, we could have another round or lessons to learn about these matters now. Now, because Pluto is associated with debt, this is where we'll see some corrections. So there's always a plus to every minus. We could be looking at transformation in your personal finances or small businesses going into debt as a result of this coronavirus, if you again give it a thought. Perhaps even debt forgiveness programs or ways to assist people who are having a difficult time paying debts because of the financial setbacks of the current crisis. This is not a time to take on more debts if you don't have to, but it could be a very, very good time to consolidate or recalibrate your finances. Get your financial priorities in order. Be realistic about what you can afford, spend during this time of economic flux. Now, there are going to be plenty social changes also. When Pluto comes in contact with a planet, it seeks to transform and transmute any associated matters. Jupiter, on the other hand, tends to magnify any planet with which it comes into contact. Remember, Jupiter expands. So Jupiter's come in contact with Pluto and it is magnifying the qualities of Pluto. Together, these two call out anything that needs adjusting, correcting, or remedifying. Have hope in your ability to work together to rebuild the society. This transit wants to help us do just that. Now, Jupiter relates to justice and the law, and this transit helps to inspire social changes to build a more equitable society. It's time to give back and contribute in whatever ways you can support this effort. So we are definitely going to witness metamorphosis in Capricorn related industries like the banks, the finance, the government, and the corporations. We are also likely to see changes in Jupiter related sectors like religion, religious institutions, higher education, travel, international business, and your faith. At this time, we could get real about the lessons we have incurred through the pandemic. We could even see some market fluctuations as we navigate another bumpy patch of this current COVID-19 storm. But on the plus side, we are definitely going to witness solutions for making everything safe, improving your learnings through technology, and coming together with other countries. So during this time of conjunction, what we need to be aware of is we need to become our own advocate, our own guru. We will see people claiming to have prophetic messages coming out into the mainstream, as well as a rise in conspiracy theories. They may sound good and accurate, but you'll want to be aware of blindly following without trusting your own intuition and sensibility. So you need to trust your intuitions. You need to trust that voice within. Now, Jupiter and Pluto, they had conjoined in 1994, 1995 in Scorpio, and we saw a rise in the cult leaders who led their followers into suicide or violence around that time. We don't want that happening now. So don't trust people, trust your own self. Although there are few other astrological happenings at that time supporting this activity, we will see similar incidents with this transit. Now, because Jupiter is the planet of faith and beliefs, this transit signifies a time of awakening. Because we are moving more into the collective ideals of the Aquarian age, now is the time to embrace your intuition, become powerful within yourself, become your own master, and follow your heart's voice. That means you become your own guru. You master your own self. You grow up and have that self-esteem and confidence that whatever you adhere, whatever your mind or heart says, that is the correct path. Social isolation has shifted how we gather in the faith communities. So it's making our individual and familial spiritual practices more critical than ever. The Jupiter-Pluto conjunction will strengthen this inner work throughout 2020 and make great differences, good differences for future generations. So we are the ones who are laying the foundations. What do you believe? Now is the time to unpack your beliefs and discovers which ones no longer serve you. Discard the old way of thinking, the outdated ideas, and allow yourself to think of your faith with a beginner's mind. Open your mind, be open minded, and be open to all the possibilities. Try out everything that you feel and be more creative. Be in a place of exploration right now. Be adventurous because now is the right time to make the most of these opportunities that are actually being presented. But once you are prepared, opportunities automatically will be grabbed. You need to remain cautiously optimistic realistically. I'm not asking you all to be positive. You need to remain cautious, yet be realistically optimistic. The Jupiter Pluto conjunction inspires faith and gives us a glimmer of hope. This influence is a do not give up influence, but sometimes you have to go through doubt to arrive at faith. Faith is the key word this entire year. When you lose faith, you can fall into despair or fear. Have faith in your abilities. Weather any rough patches and make conscious life decisions. Jupiter, though, is not in its happiest place in Capricorn, but it is still a benefic planet, meaning that its influence supports our well being, expansion, and prosperity. In that sense, it offers hope against all odds for those challenging circumstances in your life. It also helps you manifest desires you've had for a long, long time. As a collective, we are entering into a renaissance period with innovations in education, the arts, religion, business, and more. This transit shows us our highest potential individually and collectively as a society, and it invites us to live up to it. Many who have Jupiter conjunct Pluto in their natal charts are blessed with financial prosperity and the potential for wealth because right from the beginning they get conditioned to adapt to changing circumstances. So, having a strong sense of your power and often unafraid to live their dreams, because we are all experiencing this transit, we all have the opportunity to do the same. Jupiter and Pluto will invite a deepening of growth, digging into the roots of circumstances to discover what truly matters. We will be able to generate or regenerate visions for possibility through dealing with difficulties and facing whatever has ruptured during the past year or the past months of Saturn and Pluto, which actually began a new cycle. As a result, we can expect an initial narrative of the changes coinciding with the Jupiter's union with Pluto to be generated in April. It actually got generated in April. Now, with an important turn of events on necessary revising or revisioning, which is occurring in June and July, that will require integration and contemplation for how to proceed more effectively. By the time we reach November, we would have learned how to adjust, how to adapt, whatever developments have coincided with being at the threshold of a new cycle between Jupiter and Pluto. And we will be able to understand more fully how to work with whatever insights and awareness we have gained. And it is the start of a new period, a new working order. And trust me, you all will be successful. Now, with this, I will end this video because my intention of the part one was that I needed you all to understand the energies or the device or understand the planets Jupiter and Pluto and how they affect, what is their psyche, what is our calling, and how we can reach out to all our inner energies 100% to everybody. But in my part two video, I will try to explain how it affects each zodiac sign. So till then, stay tuned and I will get on to what the Jupiter conjunct Pluto is going to bring us, and what are the changes we need to experience, and how does it impact the other 12 signs. Stay blessed and stay safe.